Hi, welcome to my very first video cam. And I want to start by asking you a question. And that is, if you had 4 minutes left to live, what would you do? Imagine that you heard a news flash now that North Korea had launched a nuclear weapon and it was on its way to the UK, and we had 4 minutes left to live before everything goes up. What would you do? I asked a few people what they thought. One girl said that she would eat chocolate, so stuff her face with the stuff. One boy said he'd go home and play on his favourite computer game. One bloke said this. He said, "I'll kill my wife. Kill her." It was interesting that those who were stuck in the Twin Towers, knowing that they only had minutes to go, reached for their phones and called those that they love and said sorry or I love you. We've heard some of those recordings, those crackly recordings, and it's moving to hear what they said. Some people would pray that they would talk to God. But talk to God about what? You could ask God to intervene, to stop the bomb, but in the end, it's a small thing to pray. Because supposing God stops the bomb, and then we live a bit longer, but then something else comes along. Maybe we get cancer, and then we ask God to heal us of cancer, and then we live a bit longer, but then something else comes along. What happens in the end? In the end, we die. And there's a much bigger thing that we can talk to God about. And that's to talk to God about me and God. To talk about my relationship with the living God. And He's not kept us in the dark about this. He sent His Son, Jesus Christ, to tell us the kind of thing to say. It's in the Lord's Prayer. You may have said it before. I used to say it almost every day at primary school, and I had no idea what I was saying. But there's one line, it's found in the Bible, in Luke chapter 11, verse 4. And Jesus says this, "Forgive us our sins." In other words, get right with God. Sort out my relationship with God. If there's 4 minutes left to live, there's nothing bigger or more wonderful to do than to get right with God. For if we're right with God, even though we die, He takes us beyond the grave to a world that's more real and more alive and more wonderful than this life, and to spend for eternity with Him and His people. So what about you? If you've 4 minutes left to live, what would you do? Would you eat chocolate? Would you play on your computer? Would you reach for the phone? Or would you get right with God? And this is so important. This is really important. That's why I've made this video cam. For there will be a time in your life when you only have 4 minutes left to live. And we're so small, we don't even know when that will be. So why not today, before your head hits the pillow, why not get right with God? Thanks for listening.